Hello, I'm Tom Hannigan, and in this video I'm going to be sharing the three most important CV writing tips that you can implement straight away right now so that you can get hiring managers calling you and reaching out to you to arrange interviews. So let's go. So I'll keep this as quick and full of value as possible, but I'd like to highlight the fact that I strongly believe that the CV is the foundation that your entire application stands on. So it's not just about getting in the door for an interview, but it sets the tone for how you're perceived when you first walk in, right through to salary negotiation. So it's crucial that your CV is as strong as possible, not only to get the job, but to set the stage to maximize your salary, which is critically important. So, who am I to tell you this? I'm Tom Hannigan, and I'm the Director of Digital Select Recruitment. We're an executive recruitment consultancy operating out of the UK that we've recruited internationally as well for senior, director, executive level roles, including in technical and non-technical positions as well. So, this experience is mine working with really high level candidates, guiding them through the process, even ones who've got a wealth of industry experience sometimes don't quite realize where they could refine and improve their CV and where they're falling short, because at the end of the day, the competition is very high at the moment. 2021 is going to be a tough year for many people, even if you're an accomplished career professional. So this is some of the stuff that I've developed over the years, and I've formalized it now into this mini course that I'm going to share with you, and to a more extensive comprehensive course which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I've included a nice bonus at the end as well, so make sure you listen all the way through and you should have some really valuable information coming your way. Okay, so tip one that you can implement straight away is you need to demonstrate overwhelming value in the top third of the first page. So what do I mean by that? It means that it should be immediately obvious that you are cut above the competition and that you're a market leader. As soon as you look at your CV, it should be right there. This person is one of the best in the market right now. Okay. In 2021, we've got loads of things competing for our attention. Everyone knows that email and apps and things like that have really refined their algorithms. So there's lots of things pulling us in different directions, and we really need to apply some of the same ideas and concepts to our CV. Okay, so how do we actually do this? And what I'm going to do is I'll show you a couple of examples in a moment visually, so you get to look at people's CVs and how you turn it from a run-of-the-mill CV into something that grabs someone's attention straight away in the top third. But the rule I would recommend to you is to think of three ways that you've had an impact on the financials of the business, or the core operations of the business. And they need to go right at the top of your CV. So they should all be extremely tangible outcomes, where it's clear that you as an individual were essential in delivering or impacting how much money the business makes, new processes that you implemented, capabilities or results. Okay, so it tends to be easier for salespeople because, of course, if you're in a role where you're having a direct impact on the financials, you can just put those in there as key sales achievements, say. But even if you're in something like HR, management, accounting, you can still think about how you implemented improvements in processes, changes in how the business is run, opened new doors, saved on money as well. But try and tie it down to something really tangible and make it numbers and figures based as well, which is one of the tips we're going to talk about in a moment to tie that in. One of the other things I've done for you is I've put together a PDF with loads of examples of these kinds of ways that you can make your CV stand out and be specific in terms of your niche or your sector. So what I've done is I've put together a document with examples from HR, from management, from accounting, from sales, from software development, from marketing, examples of how you can take your experience that you've achieved and things that you know you've done and make them immediately obvious that you're one of the best in the market. And you can just use that template, copy and paste it, make it your own by changing the few variables, and it will completely change how your CV is received. So ultimately, you want to find a couple of examples where you've made a real deep impact on the business that you can measure, and you want to put that right at the top of the CV in the top third, so that someone who looks at your CV, they open the document, it arrives on their desk, and immediately they know exactly the caliber of candidate you are, the kind of scale of the projects you've worked on, and the kind of impact that you have on a business. Okay, so tip two. Now, this is to use facts and figures in your CV, particularly in that top section. So just like with a nice dish of food, it needs to be seasoned to bring out all the different qualities, the flavors, the textures. Well, on your CV, it's exactly the same, and that seasoning is facts and figures and statistics. Okay, so again, this can be easier for people in some jobs than others, but think about how performance is measured in your current role. You know, what are the kind of numbers that you're being held accountable for? What are you responsible for delivering at the moment? And how do people measure that? All businesses have these kinds of measures in place. And if you don't feel like you have that many relevant ones, it's okay to think of some and think of some accomplishments you've done. So add up some of your productivity values or some of the activities you've done. Really demonstrates that you are thinking about things from a broader perspective. One, people respond really well to facts and figures anyway. It adds credibility to your profile, but also it shows that you're thinking about things from the manager's point of view. Okay, so it shows that you're thinking about the bigger picture, and that person who receives your CV can start to imagine you in their team. They start to know what kind of output you have, how valuable you are, and they start to go, okay, this person understands my role as a manager. If you can't remember any specifics, maybe from a previous role or one you've done a couple of years ago, I personally think as long as you're not exaggerating, it's okay to make educated, fair guesses based on numbers that you do remember, or activities that you've done. So as long as you're not lying, it doesn't have to be exactly measured. That's fine. Just give people an indication of the kind of stuff that you've been doing. And if you need to use estimates, do that. Just add it into the CV. Just be transparent. All right, tip three, and this is the one that I see most people get wrong. Even people who are really senior, have been doing this for ages. They maybe have hired people themselves, and so they say, "Well, I know what people look for, so I've done it on my CV," and they trip at this last hurdle, and that is your CV isn't really about yourself. And you might say, well, what's it about then? You know, that is what a CV is, right? If anything is about you, it's your CV, but it's written for someone else. Okay, so your CV is for someone else, and it's about things that you've done for other people. So start to get into the mind frame of a hiring manager when you write your CV. So don't use the first person if you can avoid it, and make sure everything's written from the perspective of how does this impact the business? How have I helped businesses in the past? How have I made people's lives easier, empowered my colleagues, delivered on projects? How have I been an asset to the organizations I've worked at so far? And once you start really thinking about things from the manager's point of view and start writing your CV as a real document for someone else, it's a good opportunity to start rewording certain phrases as well, using power words and phrases such as implemented, identified, resolved, led, developed, overhauled, and these start changing you from the kind of person who's just done this and done that, and it's just a list of things that you've worked on the same as everybody else, to things that you've really had, again, influence on. Okay, so we're just going to cut to a quick example. I love this example. It's a really good one, and it will show you basically how to actually implement the three tips that we've been talking about so far. So a lot of the time people assume that they've been doing these activities already, so hopefully now you'll see how it looks in practice. Okay, so this is a little example, and I really like this one because I worked with him for a while as a candidate. This gentleman is an excellent candidate, presents himself really well. He's an engaging, interesting guy, and he's got loads of really valuable experience. But he was just struggling not only to get some interviews, though he was getting pretty good interviews, struggling to sometimes close the full process. And we looked right back to his CV, where we thought we could make him stand out more from the very beginning. So he walks in the door at a higher level. Um, so this is the case study, and I've actually taken this from part of the paid for course, the Get a Job, Get a Raise program, where I do a really deep dive into CV writing. I give a full masterclass webinar, as well as loads of resources and some other mini chats. And this is one of the case studies that I've used amongst others in other sectors, other job titles, etc. But he's a project manager. And in this case study, this is the part of his CV that was just below his contact details. So you imagine you've opened up his CV. I've obviously taken all the details off. And this is his opening paragraph, where you might say, well, listening to the tips that I've given so far today, well, he's done all those, right? This stands out to me. Some people might say he's even used some facts and figures, managed multi-million-dollar project budgets, 20 years plus of success. He seems like a good candidate. So if we just have a quick read through it, he's strategic and solution-oriented technical program leader behind rapid ROI generating advances in organizational capability and performance, 20 plus years of success collaborating with clients and leading global project teams, leveraging advanced development methodologies, tools and processes to improve delivery, integration of innovative cutting edge solutions. You might say, wow, that's as good as it gets, right? That's a great opener for someone of his caliber. But the truth is, it's boring. Everyone else has exactly the same kind of CV. If a hiring manager puts out a job advert, they're going to get 20, 40, 60 candidates who've all written exactly the same kind of thing at the top of their CV. So we need to just overhaul this. We need to make it absolutely stand out straight away. So this is what we turned it into. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more content. We've lifted some stuff from other areas of his CV. And this is now the front page that would be just under his contact details as well. But you can see, obviously, I've removed the identifying information of the clients he's worked for in the past and the organizations he's worked for. But immediately, just the layout as well as the content makes him stand out from the crowd and shows that he is a top of the market candidate. We've put a skills summary at the top left, and this is a nice, neat, short way to highlight what he's a specialist in. And also this would be tweaked depending on the job he's applying to. So you've got e-commerce, supply chain, warehouse specialist. You've got a couple of the things that he's particularly good at, and the kind of things that would be in a job specification. So that's where you can put a couple of keywords for the job specification. Something specialist, experience with X, Y, and Z. Okay, so we want a couple of key things there in the top left, so people look at it and go, "This is the right kind of person for me." Notable projects. So this is the section where you can really stand out, and hiring managers can start to get a feel for the kind of caliber that you are, the kind of person that you are, the scope of the things that you've worked on. It might be a little bit easier because he's a project manager, so he's worked on very discrete, clear projects. But again, in the full course, you can see all the kind of examples from different sectors, how we've really overhauled their CVs as well. But we've also used facts and figures. So look clearly how you've got budget, 16.3 million, all personally managed, 227 total staff, and 29 with direct reports. The result, 65k under budget, increased production of a £16 billion operation by 2% in year one. Now that is right there at the top of his CV. So a hiring manager looks at that and goes, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They deserve to be in my company. It would be amazing to get that kind of person on board. Okay. So we've wowed in the first third of our CV. We've used facts and figures, and also we've made it about how you help others. Or it's not just about you. It's about what you've done in really cold, hard facts and figures. Not just I'm an enthusiastic worker. I love this. I'm passionate about this. You can see it's all really clear. This is what I'm here to do, and when I join you, I will be doing it. Even the personal summary, we've broken up. We've used the same kind of content as that past paragraph, but we've said 20 years plus success, years of success, collaborating with clients and creating global project teams. We've broken up into paragraphs. We've emboldened sections to make it really easy to read. Again, in that top third, manage significant capital is in bold. Extensive experience resolving complex problems and managing C-suite stakeholders in high-pressure business critical situations. These are kind of things that they asked for on the job specifications that this candidate was applying for. And then underneath we've got certifications, because that can sometimes be a bit of a barrier. Doesn't matter if it comes at the bottom of your CV either, but not having certain things can sometimes be a limiting factor. So I hope that this example clarifies the 3 points that I've made and shows you how you can actually implement it and actually change your CV rather than just hearing it and thinking that you're already along those lines. So if your CV doesn't look something like this, whatever sector you're in, then you can definitely improve it. And like I said many times, it will change how you are received from day one when your CV lands on the desk of the hiring manager. It'll change the way you're interviewed and the way you come across in interviews without having to change interview performance, though of course we want to improve that as well. And it will make salary negotiation much, much easier. I hope you found the 3 tips valuable and you understand with the example how you can implement those in your own CV. I guarantee you that if you manage to master all 3 of those, it will completely change your job search, because you'll be able to not only have more hiring managers calling you and wanting to arrange interviews, the interviews themselves become a lot easier because you walk in there as someone who is much more established, has much more authority, and is positioned better, and also sets the stage, as we mentioned right at the beginning, for a much easier and stronger salary negotiation, because of course you're perceived in a different way from start to end. Now, this is part 1 of a 3-part mini course I'm doing called the Get a Job, Get a Raise program, which is designed to help people like you land the job that they want and then maximize their salary when they do so. There is another 2 parts to this mini course, so I highly recommend you check them out. One part is on interviewing and acing your interviews, and the 3rd and final part is on salary negotiation. So once you've done the CV writing part and you've got a stronger CV to start with, we can guide you through the interview process and give you some tips and ways to strengthen your profile there, and then some tips to finally complete the salary negotiation part and make sure you get the absolute most out of that section as well. And I highly recommend you do all 3 and watch all 3 videos and try to implement those, because they each help each other along the way. And if you do all those 3, I guarantee you will find it way easier to get a job and your salary will be much higher at the end of it. So that's exactly what we all want. I'm releasing a full course if this still feels like a little bit too complex, or there's areas that you're not quite able to maximize. This is going to be released in mid-January, so you will be on the list for it. You'll have early access, and I'll also provide you a discount as someone who's taken part in the mini course as well, so that's fantastic. I highly recommend that if you want some additional information on how to maximize your salary and to land the job, that you consider subscribing to the premium course there, because that will help you massively. And if I can help you even get £1,000 or $1,000 pay rise, which is not that much of a pay rise in the grand scheme of things, the return on investment is significant. You've paid it off in your first couple of hours of working in your new employers. So highly recommend it. It will cover complete strategy from start to end, including how to approach potential employers, how to identify who to reach out to. I'll give you email templates so that you can target the right people. You can send emails to them that get responses. I go much deeper onto the CV writing aspect as well. Give you some templates, visual templates, tell you how to make it look better. I've used a graphic designer to help guide us here, as well as some writing tips, loads of examples that you can leverage in your own CV, some more PDFs and resources, a full interview breakdown, and that includes example interview questions, how to interview, some exercises to develop. I've got a couple of really powerful exercises that you can do that completely change people's interview styles. I've had loads of good feedback from that module so far, where people have said that being prepared in that way meant that they walked in confident and relaxed. They didn't have any of the normal stress that they have. And when the questions came up, even ones that they hadn't heard before, they were ready to give the strongest answer that they could. And so we go into a really deep dive into all of that aspect. Of course, we talk about a salary negotiation as well. And as I said, having a really strong salary firmly depends on absolutely nailing the CV, the interview stage, and then it's a lot easier to complete the salary negotiation aspect. So keep an eye out for that to be dropped. You'll be on the first bunch of people to know about it in January this year. I know it's a tough market out there, so keep your head up and keep applying to jobs, whether you're looking for a new job or you need one because you're currently unemployed. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.